Hello everybody, Chicago sports fan here with another video. So I'm gonna be breaking down the Bears week 4, 5, and 6. I know I haven't uploaded in a while, but I'm here now. So I'm gonna break down the last 3 Bears games, and tonight is the Bears Rams game. I don't know when you're watching this or when it will be uploaded, but I'm recording it about 2 hours before the Bears Rams game. So I hope by next time I do a video, it'll still be good news. Alright. So in week 4, I honestly thought the Bears had no chance of losing. I knew that the Colts defense at that time was supposedly pretty good, so I was worried about that. But I thought after seeing what Nick Foles did to the Falcons, I honestly thought the Bears would win like by scoring 27, 30 points or something. And boy, was I wrong. I mean, man, oh man, was I wrong. The Bears scored 11 points. And 8 of those 11 points came within like the final 2 minutes of the game. And the thing about the Colts defense, yeah, after that game, some people were like, yeah, the Colts defense is pretty good. And then the next 2 games the Colts played, they let their opponents score 20 plus points. It was like 24 for the Bengals and like 32 for the Browns. So the Colts defense, there's that. It really was just the Bears played awful. I mean, like they played horrendous. Um, um, yeah. So it seemed good at first. However, the Bears seemed good at fast break points. Like I was gonna say, they scored within the last minute quickly after not doing anything the whole entire game. They scored 3 touchdowns quickly in the fourth quarter against the Lions and the Falcons, and they scored a quick field goal against the Panthers. So the Bears seem to know what they're doing with fast break points. Not necessarily a good thing. Well, I mean, it is a good thing, but you don't want to constantly be having to score quickly. But if you do, it does seem like the Bears are good at that. So Khalil Mack against the Colts, he dropped an easy pick. It would have put the Bears in field goal range, and if they got like I don't know exactly where they would have been, they could have even got a touchdown. And this game was the first sign that the Bears had an elite defense again, because 2019, you know how that season went. 2018, everyone was busy talking about the Bears defense, and they were kind of gone, and they gave up like 20 plus points the first 3 weeks. But now the Colts, they gave up only 19 points, and some people thought the defense played bad against the Colts, but they can't. They can't do everything. 19 points against Philip Rivers is pretty good. And so I would say the next game, the Bears improved slightly in offense, and I mean very slightly against Tampa Bay. Very slightly. Right before the Tampa Bay game, I had like almost zero confidence the Bears would win that game. I mean, how could I have confidence the Bears would win that game after how they played against the Colts? Now, like the fan in me was like, oh, they could win, but the logical thinking in my brain was like, no, they can't win. And then Tom Brady burned through the Bears defense quickly. The Bears were down quick, 13-0, and you're like, oh my God, like what is going on? I guess they're just a bad football team, the Bears. And they were also down 13-0 with like 2 minutes left in the first half. And then next thing you know, you walk away for 5 minutes and it's 14-13 at halftime, and you're like, what the heck did I miss? Well, the Bears only had one good offensive drive in the first half, I would say, and that was when they scored their second touchdown. They went pretty far down the field, and their first 7 points they scored, well, Tampa Bay was backed up into their own half. The ball's thrown to a Tampa Bay receiver. I don't know their names. He gets, boom, whammed by Fuller. The ball comes out. I think it's Robert Quinn who picks up the ball. And there's a flag. Automatic first down for Tampa Bay. But wait, They review the flag, and it was a clean hit by Kyle Fuller. Quinn picked, and they also said another thing. Oh, it's a fumble, by the way. So at first you're like, oh, okay, no flag, so the Bears will get the ball after a kick, after the punt. But no, then they're like, wait, he did catch the ball, and Robert Quinn picked up the ball. So the Bears had the ball already in field goal range, and they scored on that drive. So it was 7-13, and then they got the ball back right before halftime, and then they're up 14-13. So Robert Quinn, Bears fans were lucky that he picked up the ball because the refs blew the whistle. If they blew the whistle before he picked up the ball, I'm pretty sure it would have been like no recovery, So I don't know why the refs blow the whistle so soon. They should let the play develop, see what happens, and then blow the whistle and review everything. But, it is what it is. Then the second half was a game of field goals. Field goals win you close games. The Bears had, the Bears were down, the Bears had 0 third quarter points up to this game, and they still, after this game, still had 0 third quarter points, but a ton of fourth quarter points. So they're down 16-14 at the end of the third quarter, and then out comes Cairo. They have to kick, I believe, a 48-yard field goal. I had no hope in him. I honestly had no hope in him. He played, up to that point, he played not so good this whole season. A bunch of missed kicks beyond 40 yards. When they did the onside kick against the Colts, he kicked it right to them, and it was such an easy recovery. So I had no hope in him. But then it was a 48-yarder, and it was low, but I was like, oh my God, he actually did it. And he barely got it in. It was low. So he still got it in, and then the Bears, he kicks another one in. The Bears are up 20-19. Tom Brady forgets what down it is, and the Bears win 20-19. Big win for the Bears. They proved themselves. I had confidence back as a fan. And then next week, you had the Bears versus the Panthers. So the Panthers got the opening drive, the ball on the opening drive. The Bears intercept the ball. 3 plays later, the Bears score a touchdown. So that was a very sloppy 7 points. Very sloppy. And the whole season, the Bears feel like playing sloppy and somehow managing to win games. Well, that's what good teams do. But I'm just saying, you can't constantly play sloppy, but it is what it is. A win is a win. But the Bears all season, they call timeouts to try and score, and then it goes horribly. You can't have that happen. Again, Nagy called a timeout, and then off of a timeout, I think they had a false start. How do you get a false start off of a timeout? How does that happen? Luckily, the Panthers decide to call a timeout, and the Bears run a play. Cole Kmet gets his first touchdown, and the Bears are up 7-0. I would say, though, this game, the Bears looked better against the Panthers. Actually, I would say the Bears-Panthers game was the best for the Bears, the best all season that they've looked offensively. It was his 3rd straight game. The defense held the offense to under 20 points for the Bears. Bears defense held the opposing team's offense to under 20 points 3 weeks in a row. That's a good sign. But I do think this was the best the Bears offense looked. They never were losing. The Bears were winning the entire game. The score is a bit misleading. It honestly never felt like to me the Panthers had a chance. A lot of people are like, how do you barely beat the Panthers? Well, if you watch the game, it wasn't barely beating them. The Panthers had to try so hard, and their only score came off of a bunch of penalties from the Bears. The Bears are hurt by penalties a lot. They gotta work on that, but whatever. The Bears win. It's the first time this season they scored in all 4 quarters. They held the defense under 20 points. Held the Panthers. So going back to the Colts game really quickly. So the Bears, the last 3 games, last 2, they scored 7 points off of a turnover. The Buccaneers, they fumbled and the Bears scored a touchdown, and then Panthers threw an interception. Bears scored a touchdown. And that almost happened in the Colts game. Like I said, Khalil Mack dropped the interception. That would have been at least field goal range. At least. If the Bears did nothing, they would have at least had a field goal. And so I do think the Bears, if they're going to keep playing offense like that, they're going to have to score at least one touchdown off of a turnover a game. And if they did that, if they would have did that against the Colts, if Khalil Mack would have caught that ball, they could have did that against the Colts. And then there was another drive that Anthony Miller, the ball went right through his hands. I think it was Anthony Miller, and the Colts intercepted it, and they were in the red zone. So that Colts game, even though it felt like they got demolished, it was winnable for the Bears. They had, I mean, maybe that loss was good for the Bears, but you get what I'm saying. So, I think the Bears are, if they want to win some close games, they're going to have to score off of a defensive forced turnover. And, that almost happened with the Colts game. It felt like the Bears-Panthers game felt like the Bears scored more than 23 points. They controlled the whole game. They are never losing. But somehow only 23 points on the board. But they still won. The defense still held the Panthers to 16 points. So now on Cairo, when they were lined up to kick the 55-yard field goal, again, trying to score fast break points, and they do. Now, at first, I had a little bit of confidence Cairo was going to make that 55-yarder, but not really. I still thought, he's going to miss it. He's going to be a couple yards short. But nonetheless, he made the kick. I now have confidence that he can make pretty much any field goal within 50 yards. Around, that deep. But 55 yards seems to be his limit because that ball just squeaked in there. Again, he got it in right down the middle, but it was really, really low. And it almost hit the crossbar. It didn't, luckily, and the Bears ended up winning. And for now, I think Cairo's the guy on the field goal unit. And if the Bears win today, like I said, they're playing the Rams in about an hour. If they win today, they'll be the 1 seed in the NFC. Not in their division, the entire NFC. There's only one undefeated team left, that's the Steelers. So that's all I have to say. I'm sorry I missed the last 2 Bears breakdowns. I hope that covered it, though. So that's it. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next video.